All right, I'd like to call this voting meeting of the House Energy Committee to order at 10:33. Nick, would you please call the roll?
Chair Fiedler,
Here.
Representative Boyd, Representative Brown,
Designation.
Representative Serrato, Representative Davidson,
Designation.
Representative Donahue,
Here.
Representative Friel,
Yes.
Representative Dural,
Here.
Representative Ingalls,
Designation.
Representative McAndrew, Representative Pielli,
Here.
Representative Rusnock, Representative Steele, Representative Venkat,
Here.
Chair Causer,
Here.
Representative Armanini, Representative Barton, Representative Cook, Representative Ham,
Designation.
Representative Kale,
Designation.
Representative Kephart, Representative Mihalik,
Designation.
Representative Rapp, Representative Stambaugh,
Here.
Representative Warner,
Designation.
Representative Williams.
Designation.
The attendance is recorded and a quorum has been established. You may proceed, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Nick. We will now proceed to the first item of business on today's agenda, House Bill 1260, printers number 1414, sponsored by Representative Siegel, which the chair now calls up. Steve, please read a summary of the bill.
HB 1260 requires each large-scale warehouse or distribution center constructed after the effective date to be solar-ready. The bill also authorizes a local tax exemption for the costs of solar-ready retrofit projects on an existing warehouse or distribution center within the local jurisdiction.
Thank you, Steve. Joining us is the prime sponsor of House Bill 1260, Representative Siegel. I understand you'd like to make a few brief remarks before we move on to the amendments.
Thank you, Chair Fiedler. I think it's no secret that the Commonwealth, like much of the country, is dealing with rising energy costs, and as such, most folks are dealing with rising utility bills. In the Lehigh and the Lehigh Valley in particular, we've seen 44 million square feet of industrial space constructed in just the last decade alone. Logistical centers are great. They create jobs for our community, both long-term and construction, and they afford folks in my area an opportunity to earn a living wage. Some warehouse jobs, some of the best paying jobs we have in the Lehigh Valley, but yet they also consume a tremendous amount of open space and farmland, and that environmental ramification is severe. I think that this bill allows us to accomplish a number of critical goals all at once. It allows us to vastly increase the amount of energy production here in the Commonwealth that is sustainable, renewable, and long-term. It allows us to make sure that we offset the rising energy costs that are going to almost certainly begin to materialize as things like data centers come online in increasingly large numbers. And frankly, the Commonwealth continues to grow. And we should make sure that as those large industrial buildings are built, whether they be warehouses or data centers, that we do everything in our power to offset the costs of the energy consumption that those buildings produce. These are some of the most energy-hungry structures that we build in our country, and I think it's critical that we make sure that we work with the private sector to ensure that those industrial structures do their part to contribute to the Commonwealth's sustainable goals, its energy production goals, and protect consumers, individual residential households, from bearing the brunt of those large structures and how energy intensive that they are. I think this legislation is pragmatic, it's sensible. It allows us to create good union jobs here in the Commonwealth, to make sure that we take idle rooftops that right now are frankly doing nothing, and not only produce a bunch of baseload generation for our Commonwealth, but make sure that the next generation of men and women who want to be union electricians have an opportunity to earn a living wage, while they also create good green jobs here in the Commonwealth. I know we had extensive testimony a few weeks back about the nature of this legislation, so I'll end here. As we have evolving conversations, especially with data centers, I think it's important that we recognize that it is not wrong to place additional standards, responsibility, or expectations, that job creation is one component, but to welcome economic development and then ask the Commonwealth, and more importantly, its people, to essentially subsidize or bear the brunt of the ramifications of that development on their own and on their own backs is both unfair and unjust from an economic and a moral perspective. I would urge all my colleagues to support this legislation so that we can create baseload generation, we can add more renewable and sustainable energy to our Commonwealth, and most importantly, we can offer security and prosperity to another generation of families the union electricians who will hopefully build these solar panels on industrial buildings across the Commonwealth, but specifically in the Lehigh Valley, which has become an e-commerce and distribution hub. And I hope it's a model for future industrial projects, and I hope we carry that same standard over to data centers as well as we move forward and try to balance both economic development and job creation with making sure that those projects are also a vehicle for good family-sustaining jobs and our renewable energy goals here in the Commonwealth. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Representative Siegel. I'm glad we are considering the bill today. We will go to the amendments now, and then if there's further comments on the legislation, I'm glad to do that. I wanted to give Rep. Siegel a chance to speak just since it's his bill before he has to head out, but I will make sure that any members who have comments on the bill have a chance to make them. The chair is in receipt of 2 amendments to the bill. I would like to recognize Representative Rusnak, who will offer A02126. Steve, please read a summary of the amendment.
A02126 would adjust the bill so that conduit wiring and inverter equipment need not be installed until the solar panels are also installed, but that the space for that equipment would still be required. It would also strike language that would have allowed developers to request an exemption if there were specific conditions at the site that made it much more expensive to engineer solar readiness.
Thank you, Steve. Representative Rusnak, would you like to speak on the amendment?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, my amendment is technical in nature and comes out of conversations that were had with warehouse developers and including Prologis, one of the largest commercial warehouse and distribution center companies. In those conversations, they've made it clear that solar readiness is not much different than snow readiness, and there really is no reason that any large warehouse developer should have trouble making their project solar ready, and if they would just simply plan for it in their design phase. So the amendment also says that the conduits and the inverter equipment need not be installed until the panels are also being installed at that time.
Thank you, Representative. Is there any discussion on the amendment? Chairman Causer?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I would ask for a negative vote. I don't see any positive coming from either amendment, so I would ask for a negative vote on both the amendments.
Thank you, Chairman. Any other comments on the amendment? For the record, joining us is Representative Ingalls in person before we proceed. And before we go to the vote, I will say that I will ask members of the committee for a yes vote in support of this amendment. Nick, would you call the roll? Those in favor of reporting the amendment will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no.
Chair Fiedler,
Yes.
Representative Boyd, Representative Brown,
Yes by designation.
Representative Serrato, Representative Davidson,
Yes by designation.
Representative Donahue, Representative Friel, Representative Dural,
Thank you.
Representative Ingalls, Representative McAndrew, Representative Pielli, Representative Rusnak,
Yes.
Representative Steele, Representative Venkat,
Yes.
Chair Causer,
No.
Representative Armanini, Representative Barton, Representative Cook, Representative Ham,
Designation no.
Representative Kale,
Designation no.
Representative Kephart, Representative Mihalik,
Designation no.
Representative Rapp, Representative Stambaugh,
No.
Representative Warner,
Designation no.
Representative Williams.
Designation no.
The ayes are 14 and the nays are 12. The amendment is adopted.
Thank you. The amendment is adopted and the bill is amended. I would like to recognize Representative Rusnak, who will offer a second amendment, A01891. Steve, please read a summary of the amendment.
This amendment exempts utilities from solar readiness requirements on utility-owned warehouses.
And Representative Rusnak, would you like to speak on this amendment?
Yes, thank you again, Madam Chair. We know in Pennsylvania that the Competition Act of 1996
blocks utilities from generating their own power. And this amendment just clarifies that if a utility builds a warehouse, they wouldn't have to make it solar ready because by law, they can't own their own solar panels.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on this amendment? Seeing none, I am supporting this amendment and will ask members for a yes vote. Did you want to say anything? Okay. Nick, would you please call the roll?
Chair Fiedler,
Yes.
Representative Boyd, Representative Brown,
Yes by designation.
Representative Serrato, Representative Davidson,
Yes by designation.
Representative Donahue, Representative Friel, Representative Dural, Representative Ingalls, Representative McAndrew, Representative Pielli, Representative Rusnak, Representative Steele, Representative Venkat,
Yes.
Chair Causer,
No.
Representative Armanini, Representative Barton, Representative Cook, Representative Ham,
No.
Representative Kale,
No.
Representative Kephart, Representative Mihalik,
No.
Representative Rapp, Representative Stambaugh,
No.
Representative Warner,
No.
Representative Williams.
No.
The ayes are 14, the nays are 12. The amendment is adopted.
Thank you, Nick. The amendment is adopted. The bill is amended. And the question is, will the committee report the bill as amended? Is there any discussion on the bill? Representative Rapp?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I'm going to be a solid no on this bill. I have repeatedly, when I've been at the meetings and brought up the issue of decommissioning of solar. And for people, especially in the environmental world, the concerned people for the environment, I am astounded that people who are promoting solar and the expansion of solar are not considering the decommissioning of solar panels and putting it into legislation. Also, the other thing that concerns me is Pennsylvania continues to be one of the largest importers of other states' garbage. So as our landfills continue to fill up with all kinds of refuse, and it still mystifies me why we cannot, with the all of the talk about climate change and environmental stewardship, why when we see bills regarding solar, that the legislation that I have seen seems to refuse to address the decommissioning of solar panels. And what are we going to do with all of these solar panels when their life cycle is finished? And it's also very disturbing to me that even with the rooftop and the distribution, who's going to pay for all of that decommissioning? We, some of us sitting in this room, remember when we passed legislation that electronics had to be disposed of in a special way, but that's still not happening from what I heard the other day. But it still remains a concern of mine, Madam Chair, and as I have said before, I am never going to vote for a solar bill until this committee or the other Environmental Resources Committee addresses the decommissioning of solar panels and how we are to dispose of them in the future instead of leaving the problem to future generations. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Representative, and I would be very glad to work together on the issue of decommissioning. Any comments, Mr. Chair?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just briefly, we held a hearing on this bill, and there were a number of concerns brought up about the bill in that particular hearing, none of which the amendments address any of those concerns. I personally don't have a problem with solar panels on warehouse roofs, but I think the thing that we may be missing here is that this is private property. And this is legislation that's saying that these facilities have to be solar ready. Well, there is a cost associated with that. And I think that some members may be looking the other way on that cost. This is private property, and I don't think that we should be mandating that anyone looking to develop a warehouse has to put these requirements in place. So I would ask for a negative vote.
Thank you, Chairman. Before we get to the vote, which we will do in just a minute, I'll just reiterate that one of my goals with this committee is certainly to do everything we can to help people back home who are struggling with rising electricity bills, rising energy bills. And I think one of the things that we must do is try to get more power generated to try to bring down those costs. And I think that this legislation from Representative Siegel is a smart move in that direction, making a change that will allow us to get more on the grid. As we did hear in the testimony, the cost is less than 1% to try to make sure that these buildings are solar ready, and that in fact many of the folks in the industry who work on renting out this space, who work on building warehouses, have told us that when buildings are solar ready, it's actually quite easy to get people interested in taking them on because it allows them to have that additional generation on the rooftop. And so these spaces are very much in demand, and I hope that this legislation will help us to get even more on the map in Pennsylvania. Seeing no further no further questions or comments on the bill, we will now proceed to a vote. Will the committee report out House Bill 1260, printers number 1414, sponsored by Representative Siegel as amended? Those in favor of reporting the bill as amended will vote yes. Those opposed, no. Nick, please call the roll.
Chair Fiedler,
Yes.
Representative Boyd, Representative Brown,
Yes by designation.
Representative Serrato, Representative Davidson,
Yes by designation.
Representative Donahue,
Yes by designation.
Representative Friel, Representative Dural,
Yes.
Representative Ingalls, Representative McAndrew, Representative Pielli, Representative Rusnock, Representative Steele, Representative Venkat,
Yes.
Chair Causer,
No.
Representative Armanini, Representative Barton, Representative Cook, Representative Ham,
No.
Representative Kale,
No.
Representative Kephart, Representative Mihalik,
No.
Representative Rapp, Representative Stambaugh,
No.
Representative Warner,
No.
Representative Williams.
No.
On the question, the ayes are 14, the nays are 12. The motion passes.
House Bill 1260, printers number 1414, sponsored by Representative Siegel, will be reported from the Energy Committee as amended. Thank you, Representative, for being here. Congratulations. We will now proceed to the second item of business on today's agenda, House Bill 1217, printers number 2556, sponsored by Representative Dural, which the chair now calls up. Steve, please read a summary of.
HB 2017 would give the Department of Environmental Protection the authority to lower the fees collected under the Radiation Protection Act for small modular reactors and microreactor sites.
Thank you. The chair has not received any amendments to the bill, so the question is, will the committee report the bill as committed? Is there any discussion on the bill? Representative Dural.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. I'm here today to ask for your support on House Bill 2017, which makes a simple but important update to Pennsylvania's Radiation Protection Act of 1984. Our current laws were written when traditional full-scale reactors were the only technology available. The fee structure to this statute was designed for older centralized plants, one site with many reactors. But today, nuclear technology has changed. SMRs are emerging as a safer and more adaptable energy option. They have the potential to reduce energy costs, lower emissions, and expand access to reliable power across the Commonwealth. However, under current law, SMRs would be charged the same rate per EEP fee as traditional nuclear plants. If we fail to modernize our law, we risk shutting down a new clean energy technology before it even arrives. HB 2017 updates the Pennsylvania Protection Reaction Act to reflect today's innovations. It adds definitions to SMRs and microreactors, establishes a separate fee structure appropriate to these smaller facilities, and directs Environmental Quality Board to set a reasonable fees to match the scale and design of SMRs. This bill today does not reduce safety oversight or weaken regulation. It simply ensures that our policy framework aligns with the current future of technology. HB 2017 positions PA to benefit for the next generation of nuclear energy. I respectfully ask for your yes vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Representatives. Any comments, Mr. Chair, before we proceed?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think as we heard yesterday in the hearing on this topic, that small modular reactors are certainly a source of energy in the future. May take several years, but it is certainly an important source of energy going forward. And I do think that this bill makes sense. It's something that I would support and ask the members to support, and I thank the gentleman for offering the bill.
Thank you, Chairman. I will just add that, as I mentioned during yesterday's hearing, which I found very interesting and informative, I do think that this is a very smart bill. Thank you for bringing it to the committee. And I think that it is important that we look at all of these technologies, whether they're things that are already in the works or things that are on the horizon, because as we all know, energy prices are going up, and we need to do everything we can to generate more energy. Why not try to attract more business here to Pennsylvania? Seeing no further questions or comments on the bill, we will now proceed to a vote. Will the committee report House Bill 2017, printers number 2556, sponsored by Representative Giral, as committed? Those in favor of reporting the bill as amended will vote yes. Those opposed, no. Nick, please call the roll.
Chair Fiedler,
Yes.
Representative Boyd, Representative Brown,
Yes by designation.
Representative Serrato, Representative Davidson,
Yes by designation.
Representative Donahue,
Yes by designation.
Representative Friel, Representative Giral, Representative Ingalls, Representative McAndrew, Representative Pielli, Representative Rusnak, Representative Steele, Representative Venkat,
Yes.
Chair Causer,
Yes.
Representative Armanini, Representative Barton, Representative Cook, Representative Ham,
Yes.
Representative Kale,
Yes.
Representative Kephart, Representative Mihalik,
Yes.
Representative Rapp, Representative Stambaugh,
Yes.
Representative Warner,
Yes.
Representative Williams.
Yes.
On the question, the ayes are 26, the nays are 0. The motion passes.
The motion having passed House Bill 2017, printers number 2556, sponsored by Rep. Giral, will be reported from the Energy Committee as committed. Thank you to the members, and thank you very much to the staff for working so hard on this together. With no further business before the committee, this meeting is adjourned at 10:57.